25th, 2022. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Chair Tompak,
Here.
Vice Chair Kurzman,
Yes.
Board Member Campo,
Here.
Board Member Fender,
Here.
Board Member Mayfield.
Here.
Okay, that brings us to public comment. And I do have one public comment form from Bonnie Flint. And of course, the usual rules apply. 3 minutes. Please state your name.
Less than 3 minutes. Don't worry.
Okay, go ahead.
Bonnie Flint, 6 Palmetto Drive. Just reviewing a portion of the 330-page comp plan draft. Oh my God, what you guys look at. On page 25, under sanitary sewer, I read the old objective, which highlighted that if the town determines such extension is necessary and fiscally feasible. When did we do that relative to extending sanitary sewer service? Who determined that the extension was necessary and fiscally feasible? It seems to me those are issues one is still grappling with here. So that was in the old objective. I'm not sure that was accomplished, that's been on the books for a while. Then it moves to the new objective, IWR 3.1, and it says the town will coordinate to provide the...
I can't hear. Could you...
Let me get rid of this.
I'm
sorry.
No, it's nothing that you're doing. We're just getting commotion up here.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't want to spend a lot of time.
I don't
So, I don't know.
You were
There was
saying
no mention.
some sections. Can you
Yeah.
tell me those sections?
Well, if you go to page 25, objective 2.0, and that's in the old column. I think it's on the left. It's on the chart that shows in blue type. And then to the right, it shows the new objectives in green. Well,
Page 25 of which section, please?
Page 25
Of which section?
of the infrastructure underwater. They're numbered pages at the bottom, I think.
I've got a bunch of 25s.
Oh, you do?
To the front.
Okay. It's it's the first batch of where you reach 25 then. But it just brought to mind assumptions being made that bringing sanitary service to town residents if the town determines such extension is necessary and fiscally feasible. I'm not sure when we did that. I mean, it gets battered around, but I don't think there was ever a vote or there was ever a case for support that brought that to light. And then if you go and look at the newly revised portion over to the right, do you see the chart I'm speaking about? The block chart on the left, I think, is blue type, and on the right is green. Okay. Then the new objective, IWR 3.1, it said that we would coordinate with MCU to provide the public with economically and environmentally sound wastewater collection and treatment. I'm not aware of economically sound or environmentally sound compared to where we've been for the last 30 years.
It's here, sir.
Perhaps I've missed a presentation, a vote or something, but I was broken into, so I will take another 20 seconds with James not hearing. So is there something that I missed or that someone can enlighten me about? Because it looks like a leap of faith there that I haven't seen any backing or sound details on that. So if you have thoughts or can get back to me personally, I would be, or want to consider it in, I just thought I'd bring that up because once again, no documentation, leap of faith, as far as I can tell. Thank you.
Okay, that's the only public comment I have. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda anybody wants to make? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll second.
Please call the roll.
Vice Chair Kurzman,
Yes.
Board Member Campo,
Yes.
Board Member Fender,
Yes.
Board Member Mayfield,
Yes.
Chair Tompak.
Yes. So the next item is public hearing, first reading of the ordinance number 440, comp plan text amendment. And I think we'll start with Bonnie Landry making a presentation to us. Good evening.
Good evening. Do we need to read the ordinance into the record for that? I think we do.
Sure.
Okay, let's just do that for the official.
Okay. April, would you read it since
Sure.
Glenn is not here? Yep. Just by title.
An ordinance of the Town of Sewalls Point, Florida, amending the text of the comprehensive plan in accordance with the Evaluation and Appraisal Review, EAR-based amendments, providing findings, providing for conflicting provisions, providing for severability, providing for applicability, providing for filing with the Florida Department of State, providing for filing with the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity, and providing for an effective date and providing for adoption.
Thank you. Go ahead, Bonnie.
Thank you. So we'll move to the presentation. And while they're loading that up, I'll just introduce myself for anybody who doesn't know me. My name is Bonnie Landry from the planning firm Bonnie C. Landry and Associates. I'm here with my associate, Heather Shaw, who will be taking very detailed notes on any comments that are made, and they will all each be addressed. So basically, we're going to present the third draft of the comprehensive plan, which has taken into consideration DEO comments. We've received comments from elected officials and comments from the public. This is a public hearing, so there'll be a public hearing to take public and commission comments before we transmit to the state. But the next step in this process is to send this to the state for their final comments and review. Next slide. So the purpose of this hearing is to provide an overview of the transmittal process, which I'll discuss. We're going to talk about updated polling that has occurred, which we did via paper polling. I'm going to present a summary of updates to the plan. We're going to show you what was just mentioned, the old versus new, which was requested by the commission to see that the spirit of the old comprehensive plan was still intact. We're going to show you a snapshot of the matrices, which will be available online. You can see each comment will be recorded, and then the appendices, which will go with the transmittal. Timeline, receive comments from the public and the commission. Next slide. Okay, so as I may or may not have mentioned, this entire process is governed by state law. There is a procedure you must follow to be in compliance with state law, one of which is when it is transmitted, this first version, to the state, in addition to sending it to the Department of Economic Opportunity, we send it to each of those agencies. And I did want to note that one of those agencies is the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, because there was a comment at one of the meetings that they could have done the plan. They could not, because they're a reviewer. It would be a conflict of interest. Next slide. Okay, there are 10 elements. When we started the process, there was only 9, but there was a change to state law that required what's called a property rights element. That one does not require any data, so that's why there's only 9 data analysis and inventories. And there's a total of 25 maps in the future land use map series. So I do want to say that's a big portion, is having those maps digitized, because the ones that were in the 1989 plan were basically hand-drawn. So now you have a GIS layer of each of your maps. Once we transmit to the state, they have 30 days for them to review it and for the reviewing agencies to review it. The agencies send their comments to the DEO, Department of Economic Opportunity, who compiles all the comments into categories of how they should be addressed by the town. And that's the next slide. The report that we'll receive in 30 days is called an ORC report, stands for Objections, Recommendations, and Comments. There are three types. The objections say, if you don't address this, your plan is out of compliance with the state, or they'll kick it back. So those you must address and change your comp plan to be in compliance. They also have recommendations of how to satisfy those objectives. And then the third category is just technical assistance and comments, which is the pleasure of the commission whether or not they want to take that recommendation. It's not required by state law. I'm very happy to report, because we got a lot of comments that, hey, you know, only 14 people showed up to the live polling. In conjunction with the town manager, who sent out the poll via the newsletter, we got overwhelming response. And April, thank you, who collected them and sent them to us, because we scanned each one, recorded all the data, and we had a total of 106 people overall participate in that process to say what they want in their comprehensive plan as a resident. Next slide. So, after receiving that comment, one of the big changes in the way people felt that we noticed is 60% of those who participated in total did not support accessory dwelling units. An accessory dwelling unit is basically either a connected or separate detached improvement to your property for someone like an elderly person or a disabled person in your family to live in. We have the three policies up there. If you can make it a little bit smaller, I don't think they're all up there. But one of the things that we'll need a policy decision from the commission is, do you want to continue to have that availability to have accessory dwelling units on a property, or do you want to change that policy based on the recent poll? But it is important to note that 30% of those polled did support it for elder care and extended family. And I personally recommend that option. It is written and you can only have one per property, but as a daughter of a 91-year-old who lives on my property in a guest house, I think his quality of life is better, and that's a personal story. But, you know, unfortunately, as we age, our parents age, and someone needs to take care of them. So I support it, but that is a complete policy decision. If you would like to discuss it now, or I'll finish the presentation. You want me to go on? Or do you want to talk?
Any comments?
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Was this addressed at all in the original plan?
Yes, and that I'm going to bring that up when we get to the side-by-side comparison. If you leave it in there, it's really not changing because it's always been allowed.
Okay.
So it would be a huge policy change because it would be taking it, you know, it was in the original plan, it's in the new plan. If you took it out, it would be a huge change in policy, but again, you're the commission, okay?
Okay.
But I do want to point it out that it is limited to one accessory dwelling unit per property. So even if you have a giant parcel with plenty of room, you could still only have one accessory dwelling unit. So we do have limitations, so you can't just have cottages all over your property. Okay? Next slide.
Commissioner Fender?
No, I was just going to ask, since you said talk about it now, is it drafted in the current document the way you just described it?
Yes, yes. And it also is, it's protected two ways. We say you can only have one accessory dwelling unit, and your density, your future land use density wouldn't allow it either.
Okay.
You only have 2.5 units per acre, and based on the size of your parcels, it would be impossible to put more than one. And they do have to be half the size of the original home. So there's limitations to
Okay.
it.
Got it.
Vice Mayor Kurzman?
Yes, the secondary unit, I believe, has to be attached to the main house. That's not correct.
No, it can be attached or detached, and that was how it was in your original comp plan, like a garage apartment or a separate unit. And, you know, in some cases, it's good to have that separate unit because each family unit gets their own privacy at night, you know, if you sleep different hours or such. But that, again, you could say that, but I would say if you wanted to limit it to attached versus detached, you might want to put that in your land development regulation because it's so specific.
I think
and
it
the
is in
comp plan
there.
Broad.
I think it is in our ordinance as it has to be attached, but I could be wrong. I was
Okay.
pretty sure that's what it states
In the land development regulations.
in our ordinances.
Yeah, yeah. And what we will do after your comp plan is adopted, there may be some land development regulations that need to be updated to fit with the comp plan, but the analysis hasn't been done. But that's a good point.
Thank you.
I also wanted to put this out there. The town has been very successful in getting grants. In this particular case, the Department of Economic Opportunity, who really wanted us to move forward with the project so that we'd be in compliance with state law, partially funded this exercise. The town has submitted for their first reimbursement for this project, and they're expected to get their second reimbursement in the next few weeks. I also wanted to say that as part of the partnership with the DEO, they have been giving us feedback. They've been very open. I called them, I asked them a question, they answered that day because they want it to be in compliance. So they've been supportive, minor changes that they've asked, but we complied with each and every one. Next slide. So as I just alluded to, we had a courtesy review where comments were received on the 21st. We're still updating the comp plan. It doesn't, the changes they're making are just, they're not going to change the look and feel of the plan, but it's just certain words that have to be changed. But we will document those on a separate spreadsheet, but those changes are going to be made before we transmit the next week. Also, the commissioners have all gone through the plan, and there were a few changes that Commissioner Mayfield mentioned to me today, some of which were grammatical or typos, one of which was a map error that we'll talk about when we get to the maps, but we are going to take care of all those changes as well. So the data inventory and analysis section. We changed the wording on two of the data based on a comment from the public, where the way it was worded about the amount of people on septic tanks versus wastewater treatment, we changed it from much to most to make it clearer, and from some to most to make it clearer. So and that comment you'll find in your comment sheet. The person that made it, and we agreed with that comment. So we did make those changes. Goals, objectives, and policies. Minor spelling errors, really just typographical errors are mostly what we found. The big change, I think we might have had the short-term planning period is 2026, but by state law it needs to be 5 years. That's why we changed it to 2027. You have a long-term and short-term plan range. Next slide. Again, in the conservation element, minor grammatical errors, removed an apostrophe, and then we got a comment from the state that the state threatened definition didn't match the Florida statute definition, so we changed it to be exactly like the state defines it, so it's very clear. Okay, the map series. We have updated every single map because in the time that we've been doing the project, you had a property de-annexed in the northwest portion of the town, so that property is all in unincorporated Martin County, no longer in the town. So we updated the boundary map, and two commissioners also pointed out that the speed limit map was incorrect. We apologize. We pulled that data from the county, and they had your local roads being 25 miles per hour, but they're 20. So we will make that change. That map is a courtesy map. It wasn't required by state, but while the map guy was doing maps, he made that map, and it'll help people know what the speed limit is. But we will make that correction Next slide. This map was done, it was one of the first maps we did called Current Land Use. And it's very specific about what is on each parcel, and it's an exercise that we did with the town manager. This map is not required by statute, so we are not going to include it in the comprehensive plan because it is confusing to the state, the current and future land use. They just want future land use. But you have this as a reference. We're just not going to put it in the transmittal. We recommend we don't put it in the transmittal packet. Next slide. The other thing that changed, one of the comments from, I think, the last workshop we had is we did not have a level of service for South Sewalls Point Road. It was that we didn't have the data from the county because it's a local road. And thanks to the manager and the town engineer, they really did it quickly. The day we called them, they had the traffic counts out there the next day. Counted the traffic, and they did designate that that road is performing at a C level. That wasn't only a request of the commission, but the state wanted that data as well. So we thank CapTech for doing it so quickly and so well. Next slide. The coastal high hazard area, one of the comments from the DEO is they didn't think that where the tide is rising was clear enough, so we changed the color, basically. But they also wanted to be very specific about what the data source was, so we put that in big letters, that it is the sea level, the slosh map, and it's demonstrating what would happen in a Category 1, and that data is current October 23rd, 2020. That's the most recent data. Next slide. A request by the commission was a side-by-side comparison. There's a typo that should say 1989 and the correlating new policies. I wanted to make sure this is not every single policy. This is just an example to show you that there are correlating policies, because you wouldn't want to do every single one. But I want to point out that accessory dwelling units was in the old plan. You know, looking into sewer connections was in the original plan. So I very much believe that the spirit of the original plan is in your updated plan, but now it's updated for state statute to meet all those laws. Next slide. So I think we did have a comment about the side-by-side comparison. I will make this available on the website as soon as possible. But the side on the left is the original policies, and the correlating ones are on the right. But there's many examples of the same philosophies and goals. Affordable housing was in the original plan, because we had some comments about why would we do affordable housing. Well, it is required that you address that, but it was in your original plan. It's nothing new. Next slide. Again, that's just an example of some of the correlating slides talking about septic tanks and septic tank maintenance. You were talking about that back in 1989. You're still talking about it. Next slide. This I wanted to point out, and I can also hopefully make this available to the web. I know the website's getting crowded with documents, but I want to make it available to people, because I want people to know. I mean, if you gave me your name, I put your name on there as the source of the comment. I put exactly what your comment was. In this particular case, the resident had a question about how it was worded for the septic tanks, and I put that I agreed with them that we needed to change it to make it clearer, so we changed a few words to make it more clear. Next slide. And then the appendices, which this is all your backup documentation. Every single paper poll was scanned in, so we're going to have that. So it's going to make a thick document, but we usually keep the appendices separate so that you don't have this big, huge thing. But one change that the DEO made that I'm very happy about is we can transmit electronically. We don't have to print out. Back in the day, we printed out every single thing and sent them this big box. But they are, current, and we upload it to their website, and we're done. So here we are in the timeline. We have two public hearings. This first one with the LPA The second one with the town commission. The way it works is the LPA advises the commission. So at the end of this meeting, they will say what they would like the commission to do, and then the final vote will be with the commission. But in respect of everyone's time, I'm only going to do this presentation once unless we get a request to do it a second time, because it'll be the same presentation. But next slide. So just to give you an idea about the state coordinated process, which again is prescribed by state law, we have our transmittal hearings. Both are required, one with the LPA and one with the commission. We expect to get that ORC report, and that's a report from the state which compiles all of the comments, probably more like March because we're almost in February. They have 30 days. And then you will have the second reading and final adoption probably in April, depending on how soon we can address the comments. But it's important to note that the version you're going to have at the adoption hearing will look different, but we'll have a spreadsheet of everything that has changed between today and that meeting and why we changed it. And typically, it's going to be based on state comments by that time, because we've addressed most of the public comments thus far. Next slide. So, one change that we made to the recommended motion is this. The LPA would just recommend that we approve the first reading and transmit to the town of Sewalls Point the amendments as presented, but allowing for the minor corrections recommended by the state. And we'd like to update the ordinance to read that the original comprehensive plan is being strucken through in its entirety and replaced with the current language. That was the recommendation from the state. And that needs to be added to the ordinance in the body. And now I'm done if you want to open the public hearing and available for questions from first the commission and then the public.
Okay, let's go ahead. Is there any public comment? Vice Mayor? I'm sorry?
I see.
Please come forward.
April, please turn that to the mayor.
Good evening, board members. Marcella Camblor, 12 Ridgeview Road South, for the record. I just, can you hear me? So for the record, I want to say that I support the town's effort to, redo our comprehensive plan. I have attempted to be involved in this process as much as possible. I see the town manager nodding. I reached out to the town back in October. I reviewed all the data and analyses. I reached out again on December 29th because I got an email that said, this is your last chance to comment. And the response I got was, you were one of the 14 in-person participants. There's nothing for you to comment. Now, this is December 29th. My bad. I found out today that the entire set of elements had been done sometime between December 29th. I guess I don't know how we're on the third review of this. I guess I missed it, even though I tried to reach out. I have some concerns. This is an LPA meeting. And, our code states that for LPA meetings, we need a representative from the school district at these meetings. Now, I understand that the town normally doesn't have Ms. Everman from the school district here for the LPA meetings because it doesn't really affect, when one house gets built or a small element gets done. But when a thing such as a new comprehensive plan that should include a school element, that should allow us to participate in the interlocal agreement with Martin County and the school district, I spoke to her today. She had not even been notified that the town was doing a new comprehensive plan. This I was not going to say, Bonnie. She and I are colleagues. I was the executive. I just gave myself an upgrade. I was the urban design director for the Regional Planning Council for 12 years. The Regional Planning Council works for you. I'm not saying they would have done a better or worse job. It is not true that that is a conflict of interest for them to do this type of work. I personally, as director, did the work the comp plan and code work for St. Lucie County, Martin County, City of Stuart, Town of Palm Beach County. So just want to, for the record, say that that is not a true statement, or it's an erroneous statement. My big concern with the lack of time, I'm just asking for more time. I have seen things that personally, as a planner, I think I would love. You know, it just says that the purpose of this comprehensive plan or this future land use element is to support compact mixed-use development and support transit. I do that everywhere. I don't know that any person here wants to see our town develop into a mixed-use town or town center in the manner that the term mixed use is applied in planning terms. It also talks about our commercial land uses only being commercial, however, implementing the principles of traditional neighborhood development. Again, these may be phrases that to the non-planner sound like innocuous, but they mean something very strong in terms of planning, which is not the character of our town. I have a serious concern about takings potentials. A 2.5 maximum density has been now established as a blanket density for a residential. I'm happy to give my comments in writing, but in the little time that I had to review this, I'm seeing things that are potentially contradictory to, and could expose us to takings and liability. Thank you.
Thanks.
Are there any additional comments from the public? Okay, we'll close public comment and discussion among the commission.
You get that?
Vice Mayor Kurzman?
Yes, one of the questions that came across by email from the public today was, why can't we use the governor's comprehensive plan? And what's state required that we have to, well, I'll let you explain that, Bonnie, please.
First of all, I must correct. The current comprehensive plan density is 2.47. 2.47. Your comprehensive plan density in the new plan is 2.5, which is higher, not less. So it is incorrect to say that we are taking land. The density is actually going up a smidge. And we calculated the density based on the lot size to make sure that that was not going to happen. So I really want to make sure that you know there are no takings in this plan. Comprehensive plans are required by state law. The Florida comprehensive plan is the overall plan for the state, and your plan has to comply with state law. But each municipality must have a comprehensive plan. It's required by law, separate from the states.
And what's the difference between the state plan that the governor has and our plan? What do we require?
Yours is a local plan and his is a statewide plan. So yours is more specific to your town. It should address what you want your town to be specifically, more specific.
Thank you.
Mr. Campo?
Yeah, Bonnie, during this process, have you shown this to local land use attorneys like Terry McCarthy and Chris Toohey?
It's on our website.
Have you sought
And I had our town attorney review the entire plan. He's our attorney.
So you haven't spoken to local land use attorneys?
Local, no, but you have your own attorney
Okay.
who has reviewed it.
So the folks that come up to us after you do your job and come up to us, it's normally Terry McCarthy, and he's normally an intimidating guy. And I would think that we would like to have input from the folks that are going to be running up against this before rather than after. I personally am very uncomfortable with me getting this packet. I got it Saturday and voting on it tonight. I'm not against the process. I think it's way too much. This is a huge document with a lot of power, and talk about takings. That's the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. I mean, the government cannot take property without you getting compensated for it. This is something that really deserves a lot of scrutiny, and I think that on top of everything else that we've got, you know, I think it can wait a couple weeks or a month for us to pass. So I think that in the meantime, We need to seek out those folks, and I'll tell you, I have not read all of what you gave me, okay? It was over 600 pages that I was given Saturday to vote on today, plus we have a meeting for tomorrow night. I think it was not presented that way on Thursday, that it would require a special meeting, and I wasn't prepared for that much, and I think it requires a lot more time. So I will be voting no if there is a vote, but I would like to move, especially it's now 7:05, we have 13 or 15 things. I would like to suggest to the mayor that we just push this down the road to the next meeting.
Commissioner Fender.
Bonnie, thanks for all the hard work on this. As you recall, I originally voted against doing this project in general, but since we've done it, I'm happy that we have a revised comp plan, or the process of having a revised plan, so I thank you for all the hard work you put in on this. I have 3 questions that will probably lead to more questions, and some of it coattails a little bit on what James was saying. First of all, I saw your timeline in there, and I just want to understand what's driving the timeline. Is there a deadline that we have to meet to have this done by a specific time in order to meet some other obligation? What is driving our timeline right now?
Well, first of all, you're way out of your timeline because it's supposed to be done every 7 years, so you're out of your timeline. But I do want to bring up that the reason why this is a different version is because we've taken public comments throughout the process.
Yeah.
We've taken commission comments throughout the process. We've taken DEO comments throughout the process. My email has been on the website, please
No
email me.
question. You've been available, and there's been a multi-step process for us to provide input.
Right, but-
That's not really my question.
Okay.
If we need more time, I'm wondering if we have it, and what is driving the timeline that we have right now?
Can you pull up the timeline, Michelle?
Sure. What page?
And this is grant funded, so there are deliverables to consider.
Okay.
Let's go up.
Is this one, your phase 2?
Phase 2, yep. So I want you to see all the meetings that we've had. This is not, we had a workshop. We had 2 workshops. We started this back in April. So I don't agree that we have not had enough time. However, you're the commission. You get as much time as you want. You're the policymakers.
Can I get addressed? I am not implying that we haven't had enough time. I'm in fact super appreciative of all the structure and the organization and the fact that we have a timeline. I'm really just, you've now created a document which is significant, and is possible that now that we've created this, we realize, wow, look, this is substantial. Do we have more time to look and make sure that it's not, something in here doesn't put us at risk? I heard something about property rights. I heard Ms. Marcella say that perhaps there's a density issue, and something about mixed use that I don't fully understand sitting here, but I'm wondering if I trust that what you put in here is accurate and professional, looks awesome, but I just wonder what our timeline is on, and maybe having more time to continue to drill on it, make it even better.
The short answer is you still have more time.
Okay.
You transmit it to the state. The state has 30 days to review it. So if someone from the public or someone from the commission, and definitely DEO and definitely the town attorney, has a concern, we have time to address it because it's going to the state. So there's a 30-day period where you can make comments then. They can show up to the second reading. So this is not the drop dead date. This is the comp plan.
I'm just really more concerned long-term on missing out on some grant funding or something that we have to have this done by that would
do.
exclude us out of something.
We do. So I have the grant deliverables right here in front of me, and we have this version due on the 28th of January, which is next week.
Okay.
Actually, no, it's Friday. It's Friday. It's Friday.
So did you imply then that there's grant funding that's,
Yes, $50,000.
I still don't understand it, though.
No, not to pay Bonnie, Mr. Mayor. It's a very good
I'm really
question.
worried about the South Sewalls Point Road.
It's a very good question, sir.
The
So
grant
let
would
us
be in
answer.
jeopardy because there are timelines in the grant that were established when the grant was signed. And the next deliverable is January 28th, which is this version. But if there are concerns, there are times to address it because this is just the first read.
So if we miss that, what is the implication?
It could jeopardize your funding.
jeopardize it to the level that is irreparable? I mean,
I don't think you get the money if you don't follow the timeline. That's a hard deadline that was signed.
all right. Okay, so I don't have the quite information to make a decision there, but I had 3 questions, so I'll go on and we can circle back and you guys can educate me further. So let's say that we got something in here we just disagreed with. I mean, a year from now, we said that? What is our do we have a process to change this? What is the process for modification?
It is a living document.
Right.
You may change
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
All right, that's
Yes.
good to know.
And that's important because there might be 5 different people sitting up
Yeah.
here in 4 years who don't have the same
Does
desires.
this follow much like an ordinance change process?
And there is another deliverable in April as well.
When you say, you mean another version of this in April being delivered?
Because you're going to make
Which might have
changes.
more input, okay.
You're going to have changes because you're going to get the ORC report, which is going to have comments from all the reviewing agencies, from the public. But like I said, I am confident that this is defendable and legal because I had your attorney review it. And they had very few comments. And it's important to note your density is not going down. We are not taking people's land.
Okay, so that was kind of around my 3rd question, because I heard Carmela raise it, and that was that I don't know, but I get the sense that there's probably some liability here for property rights basis. I mean, I don't want to put us in a position where we're spending more time defending and in court than actually just doing the town of the business. We're supposed to be saving money, right? So your implication now, which is new data for me, is that since we used to be 2.47 and now we're 2.5, that it limits any risk we have on property rights infringements?
Yes, and I've done the calculations. You have the same rights in this plan
Okay.
to develop your land as you had previously. I
But-
did not make it less.
So philosophically, a little off tangent, just my personal feeling is that I would assume this is a strategic document on how we want the future peninsula to look. And I believe that's probably not becoming more dense. The question is, we're here at this density. Do we have, as a body, the ability to correct the mistakes of the past from maybe even a density perspective? Let's say we decided, and this is hypothetical, not something that I even have an agenda for. I'm just trying to make it a point. If it's 2.5 now, is it possible through this process, or if we change it here and made it 3, or would I go the other way? I don't know. What is our liability risk, and do we have the ability to go in the direction we want to go if it is against, if we want to make the town less dense? Can we make the town less dense?
I wouldn't advise that.
Okay,
That
I
would
just
be
don't understand the
difficult to
concept.
defend. No, the concept is to allow people to have the same rights they had prior to the change. And I believe that this is legally defensible.
Okay.
I'm confident
All
in
right.
saying that.
Okay.
Commissioner Mayfield?
Yes. I 100% believe we have had plenty of time. I've sat through all the meetings. I've paid attention. I've read through the comprehensive plan. We have had plenty of time. And to say you just got it Saturday is just, it's like a newbie commissioner. I mean, you've got to be paying more attention. This has been out forever. You know how to get it. We know how to get on the website. We know how to talk to Bonnie. We know how to talk to the staff. This is ridiculous. The residents, I mean, really, the best usage of your tax dollars is for us to get business done and to pay attention and to do our job. To put it off is wasting money. This is a good document. I think Bonnie did a great job. I think the comment of property rights, I think that's a confusion of the new thing that the governor said we needed to add in. And then there was another comment about something about the density and taking property. I feel like that's a scare tactic to try to throw this all off. I don't even know what we're talking about. We can talk about it in the discussion. But I would like to make a motion for the one that Bonnie had put up earlier to approve, if you could put that back up so I could say it correctly.
And just add the change to the ordinance, the
Yes.
strike-through language. There you go.
A motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 440 and transmit the Town of Sewalls Point Comprehensive Plan amendments as presented, including any minor corrections found by Department of Economic Opportunity in their courtesy review from January 13th, and including the change to add in the fact that it was struck through completely and redone. That's my motion.
Do we have a second? I'm going to pass the gavel to James, and I'll second the motion.
I'm going to pass it to Dave.
Okay, my arm isn't that long. Any further, is there any,
It's not Dave's meeting.
Yeah,
Yes.
you would say any further discussion at this time?
Yeah, Mayor Tompic?
no further discussion? I seconded the motion, and if there's any, well,
Call the roll.
April, roll call?
Board Member Campo?
Nay.
Board Member Fender?
Aye.
Board Member Mayfield?
Yes.
Chair Tompak?
yes?
Vice Chair Kurzman?
Nay.
Let the record reflect, the gavel is being passed back to the mayor. Mr. Mayor, if I may, I have my light on.
Okay, I think that that wraps up that item, and now we're down to,
If I may, Mr. Mayor, just.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Just wanted to, Commissioner Fender, very good questions. You really want to answer the concerns and any fear that the public might have. And this is, to Bonnie's point, a living, breathing document, and you have much more time to make adjustments and also have conversations that would enable you to change it along the way. So even after adaptation of it, you can bring it back and say, okay, we really want to concentrate on something else in this next year, and take a fine-tooth comb to it and make any changes you want. This is the document of the commission.
okay, I think, let's see, that's, back to my agenda. Any other commissioner comments? Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Meetings
Second.
adjourned.